show. We'll shut the water off for a couple of weeks and we'll find a way to pay the rent for the next month. I don't care what it takes to fix these leaks. We'll chase our love and never have to stop. My name is Harley Neville and welcome along to a very historic episode of the Guy and Harley Podcast, an episode in which we live through a historic event, the Great Quarantine of 2020, and this is day one, broadcast live from the trenches for the future internet archaeologists. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome along. I'm Guy Pigden, and many Bothan spies died to bring you this information. And what I mean by that is we struggled for a really long time to try and technically make this work. I mean, you've got to understand that normally we do this together at Harley's Love Shack, and
bachelor pad,
and so now we're trying to get things going. We've got lag, we've got streams, we've got obs, we've got all sorts of madness going on.
We've got incompetence.
Yeah, well,
on all sides.
It's like those two grumpy old guys on Sesame Street. Trying to work from like a modern day thing, in this case sort of live streaming,
figuring it all out.
But we're getting there, so we sort of apologize for last week.
There was a few technical issues on the live stream, so we do understand if maybe you tuned out on that one.
But hopefully things are better this week. Hopefully things are streaming better this week, and hopefully things are sounding better this week. I hope we've found the method to the madness. Now,
we're definitely getting closer.
A large section of our podcast, or half an hour of our podcast, got cut out because some genius forgot to hit record on Skype.
Yeah. Meanwhile, another genius turned down his microphone so much that the backup recording couldn't be used.
So
there's genius issues all round, really.
But I will say maybe we should just quickly, I do really want to recap what we said, or some of what we said, or specifically what you said 2 podcasts ago about the coronavirus, about COVID-19, and your quotes, if you will recall them for us.
Okay, so hang on a second. I really want to check the stream and I just want to, okay, hang on.
Stream break.
Okay, no, it's pretty good on Restream at least. What up, world? This shit's working. I'll cut that out for the final podcast. And nobody's here on the live stream yet because I haven't even shared it. Nobody knows except for our diehard subscribers.
Are you going to put that on Facebook?
So, yeah, well, I would love to. I'm going to do it right now. It's not my fault that all of this prematurely happened and we prematurely broadcastulated.
Prematurely streamulated onto the internet.
I'm going to give them the Twitch link. Did you log into Restream chat, by the way?
Well, no, I started downloading it, but I had to stop. But I can probably log into...
Well, it's all good. I'll just keep an eye on it, and I'll read out any interesting questions.
Okay, so yes.
You can trust me to...
Yep.
Not.
So, yes, OBS is doing that wacky thing where it tries to push you out. I'm going to just leave it and see if it recovers.
Well, let's leave it and see if it does it on air.
Yep.
That's what we really want to know. So, obviously, I'm going to have to cut out all of this shit.
Well,
for the real show.
But let us go back to Harley's great quotes of 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah. Okay, well, hang on. Just give me another wee second. This is the technical difficulties. Okay, so on Twitch, Guy, it's just you full screen.
Yeah, you've disappeared. But I was hoping that hoping that you'd
On
I was hoping that you'd come back.
Right.
But you haven't come back yet.
Okay.
Because
okay. So now let's go and have a look at the YouTube.
So essentially,
one.
it pushed you into the corner, and then it's just made you disappear now completely, but for no reason.
And what's on your preview?
Well, it's done the same thing actually. It's just pushed you into total disappearance. But
okay, so fix it on your preview and then cut it back on air.
Yep. Okay, ND source. I actually have a feeling it might be on your end.
Okay.
But let's see. Yep. Okay. Yep. Allow fix. Okay. Cool. Yep. Yeah. Sweet.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Good show.
Like. So you're actually in front of me on the.
Yeah. So you probably got the levels. Probably got your layers.
No, your layer is in front of me. So no, I'm not a retard.
But is it too big or too? Is it too big or too small? No, too big. One of them's too big or something.
No. The problem is that it's just.
Or it can be wiggled down out of frame as well, completely out of frame, down underneath type thing as well.
I don't think it's doing any of those things. I think it's just a bug. Yep. So now you're just a blue screen. It's like your camera's not working.
That's weird though, because it's working on Skype.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Oh yeah, now I see it. There's my
blue screen.
So that's death? No, it's not blue screen of death. It's the Skype screen.
Yeah.
It's the Skype source.
Yep. But it may as well be the blue screen of death.
But obviously your OBS is no longer seeing my NDI source.
But if I go
but it is. It's still seeing it.
If I go into your settings, it's
look, I'll level with you. I reckon that the answer is that we're going to have to reset it. Just restart the program because it's a bit niggly.
Yep, but I think this is going to happen over and over again.
Well, you might be right. You might be right. So, I did have a few issues when I first started using it. I did kind of work out the kinks as I went.
Well,
so it's disappeared entirely now.
Yeah. So the issue is. Yeah, there's just no rhyme or reason for it. The source name is you, Harley Neville, Skype. That's where it's going. Nah, should be fine. NDI source. It's seeing you there.
We got a viewer. Say hello, viewer. Welcome to Checks.
What the hell, bro?
I don't know, bro. What the hell? This is a wee peek behind the curtain.
How do I reset your link?
Maybe you could just delete the whole source and just build it again, just start again.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do that.
So you need that, whatever that link, I don't know. Well, it should all be set up.
NDI source. Okay. Source name. Skype Harley Neville. Well, it's brought you back.
Yep. Cool, I better stop stuffing my face with jelly beans then. Well, if you haven't cut me on air, then it wouldn't have changed.
No. Okay. Oh, what the fuck? So it just randomly moves you?
Hang on a second. Hang on. You're all in sync in there on YouTube, which is great.
You're back, mate.
What?
You're back online.
Okay, so now we're all echoey on Twitch for some reason.
Well, I did just cut.
No, I don't think it's you. Yeah.
Well, it's probably our internet.
So
possibly.
No, we're good on YouTube though. It's a Twitch thing. Okay.
Cool. So, start again?
I guess we'd better start again. Well, I can steal some of that other stuff. I'll use all that other shit from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So just pick up on Harley's hellacious quotes.
Cool.
So are we ready? Yeah, I think we're ready.
Yes, so welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast, coming to you live from quarantine. And I just wanted to go back 2 podcasts ago, which was approximately 2.5 weeks ago.
Gosh, you really want to beat this horse, don't you? This dead horse.
I want to just remind the listeners what you thought of the COVID virus. I was quite a lot more circumspect and concerned. But can you just remind us what you thought of the virus back then?
You're telling the story, mate. All I said, and I stand by all of this, is that is that the chances of you catching it are incredibly slim. If you go about your normal day-to-day business and don't be a grub, the chances of you catching it statistically are insignificant, and that you're more likely to die driving to the supermarket to buy your masks than you are to catch and die from the virus. All of which I stand by.
Yeah, but you did also call it a tempest in a teapot.
Yes, that was a very poetic way in which I described it. That's correct.
You know, if we're sort of talking about what does that mean exactly? Well, it means basically it's all much ado about nothing. And now we are currently in fucking lockdown for the next month.
No. Much ado about nothing is not what it means.
Has ground to a halt, and we're in quarantine for the first time in the history of New Zealand. The economy is collapsing. People are out of jobs. Mass hysteria. Cats and dogs living together. And you call it much...
It's a tempest in a teapot.
Much ado about
nothing. It's a tempest in a teapot.
So yeah.
Well, I did change my mind about a few things as the situation unfolded, which is what any rational and sensible human should and would do.
You fucking did.
When I was given more information.
Right. Yeah. Well, yes.
So
I mean,
it's quarantine day 1.
Shit's got real. I mean, I think we should just update where we are. This is New Zealand.
Okay.
We're in New Zealand. The government has ordered the level 4 alert, which is the highest alert possible, which means...
It's the 26th of March,
Yep.
2020.
It essentially means that everywhere is closed and shut down apart from essential businesses such as supermarkets and hospitals, etc. Really, that's about it. And you're not allowed out of your house unless you're going for a walk by yourself.
You're not allowed to. You can go for a walk by yourself, but only if the place you're going is a walkable distance, as in you can't drive to the beach to go for a walk. You're allowed to go for a walk from your house, but that's it.
Currently, basically everywhere is closed. The tourism industry has laid everybody off. There's no flights coming in and out of New Zealand apart from urgent returnees. And that's basically, I mean, that's it, really.
That's where we're at.
And, you know, we're up shit creek, really.
Well, look, man, yep. The stream just went fucked and now it's all on my head. It's a big thing on my head now.
I'm working on it, mate. So basically what happens on the live stream is that it keeps randomly resizing you for absolute no reason. I'm not doing anything. I'm not pressing any buttons.
Yeah.
And then I try and resize it back.
Now it's even bigger.
And then I bring it back, and then after a while it goes fucked again. So we have to figure out what the issue there is. But I think the issue is just it doesn't really like streaming with us both here. But anyway, so we're here on lockdown. We're trying to survive. Now, I mean, a lot of big...
I've already resorted to cannibalism.
Your flatmate is gone.
He's gone.
He's in the pot. He's in the pot in the kitchen.
It's only day one. It's only halfway through day one. I didn't last very long.
But yeah, so like, look...
I sort of wanted to be honest. I was looking for an excuse. Yeah.
So here we are. And we can't do this podcast live together anymore, and we can't for the next month, so the lockdown is for a month
at least
the moment. Now what are your thoughts? Like, I guess we should just start right off the bat. What's your prediction? We pushing past this month?
No, so I reckon this is going to work, actually. I reckon it's going to work pretty well, and it might get a little bit extended, but I think that it's going to work. I think that the New Zealanders, us Kiwis, I reckon if anyone can do it, we can do it. And I reckon we'll be pretty good, pretty organised, pretty calm, and I think we'll stick to this 4-week quarantine, and I think it'll actually have a really big impact on the virus. So I feel reasonably confident that this plan is actually going to work pretty well, and that it won't be extended too long, but that it could easily go over 4 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But I mean, this could be one of those situations, like a historic moment where you're telling the story to your grandkids and you're like, yeah, we never could have predicted that the war was going to go on for 6 years. They said we'd be home by Christmas. And we're like, yeah, so 4 weeks anyway. And then it's like 6 months later, we're only allowed out 1 month. It's like 2 months in isolation, 1 month allowed free reign, and then they use that as a method to control the virus and work it through the system and do that herd immunity backup plan. But if it becomes that, they're talking about it being 18 months to 2 years of that. That's what the official plan is. That's the official government plan if it comes to it, if we can't stamp it out now.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think it's going to go on longer than a month, just because here's the thing. New Zealand is this remote part of the world where we are essentially ahead of the curve in terms of where the virus, what the virus is doing. So essentially it's like we're in the future, and we have a window into the past, almost time travel back. Where is the UK at? Where is America at? And obviously they're slightly different because, bigger populations, blah, 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 blah. But we can see the ramifications and impact Italy, whatever, and we can, in theory, plan accordingly or plan slightly better because we essentially have this time travel machine to look back. Where is everyone? And so that's why we're in lockdown, much
early.
Quicker than...
Well,
maybe not early, but much quicker than a lot of other countries enforce this rule.
Yeah, because we had all the warning.
In fact, I think London has only officially gone into lockdown pretty much the same day that we did, the UK. Which...
Gosh, that's bad,
madness. And America is still not in lockdown. America is in lockdown in the sense that the governing bodies of the different states are putting their state in lockdown.
Yeah.
But that's not an official from, the president into lockdown. That's like the preservation of like LA and New York are like, we have to go into lockdown right now, regardless of what the official stance is. This is our official stance. And this has to happen right now. So it's pretty crazy times.
We might be seeing the crumbling of an empire.
What, America?
Yeah, because if I read an interesting article, I shared it on the Guy and Harley podcast page the other day, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, and it was an article talking about China's maneuvers at the moment, political maneuvers, and how basically China's doing everything that Trump and his administration should be doing in terms of being a world leader and taking on this crisis head on and providing, sort of providing assistance and so on for the all these other nations around it that are smaller and weaker than it, all of us, that's what a world leading country does, is it kind of, it leads these other countries. And obviously the US is failing that dismally, and embarrassingly. And yet at the same time, the Chinese government has cracked it all down, and now they're sending out help and resources and experts and all that to other parts of the world, and taking the scientific approaches and doing all these types of things. And regardless of what you think of all that, it's good political maneuvering and so on to perhaps have them coming out of this really up in prestige and power on the world stage, while at the same time America's floundering and falling over.
Well, look, this is the thing.
Descending into civil war.
It is a fascinating thing, because also China, their sort of lockdown was essentially 3 months. So I would speculate that perhaps our lockdown would be 2 months if we were slightly ahead of where China was when they enforced the lockdown. But their lockdown is quite a lot stricter by what I've read than ours.
Right. Yeah, well, they had drones. They had drones chasing old ladies around.
And I don't think there was any... You weren't able to go to the shops. The food was delivered at a certain point in, like, Wuhan and stuff like that. But I'm not... Yeah. I can't say that for 100% sure. But, like, the thing about the America is, like, the shit has not hit the fan in America. In the sense that
Well, there's just so much shit on the fan already over there. They just didn't even notice.
But the sort of the impact of Corona is always behind. So like the sort of the ramifications of the decisions you make now will only be felt in like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even slightly more. So when people sort of look around, it's like, well, yeah, we're all in lockdown and it's all cool, right? But then the deaths start piling up. Then the hospitals are overwhelmed. Then all these things. And I do wonder, what's going to happen to my Amazon deliveries, because I'm probably going to be really relying on those. And
yeah, well, I'm very upset about all this because my copy of Doom Eternal hasn't arrived yet.
Well, we've talked a little bit about TradeMe in the past, my TradeMe peeves. I'm a bit of a TradeMe addict, and my girlfriend informed me today that TradeMe has fucking shut down for the most part. It's
right,
done.
okay.
And this was my misconception of this lockdown. My misconception was you could still go and post shit if you needed to, aka trade me goods. A lot of online, like a lot of stores would go to online only. But they would still go to online. So there'd be a bunch of avenues to get a bunch of stuff. So for me, that would obviously be video games. But also, like, I was looking for gym equipment because I was like, fuck, I'm on lockdown. I need some, like, dumbbells and some weights to sort of, not become a horrible fat slob in this time.
That's very important, actually.
And the TradeMe was going crazy, and I was like, I'll just wait for it to die down, once the madness has sort of subsided. But there is no dying down, because now it is sort of closed, essentially, until this government ban is lifted. And I was like, don't worry, I'll just maybe order something from the warehouse. The warehouse is closed. And so, you can't actually get anything online at the moment over here. It's actually really difficult. If you want to get over online stuff, you have to get it from overseas. That's like and obviously you can't get dumbbells and stuff because they're too heavy. So, but yes, the TradeMe thing was quite devastating to me. I thought I'd be
tins of soup, mate. Tins of soup from the cupboard. So you'll have to use those instead.
Oh, it's weights. Too light, mate. Too light.
Too light for those big cannons.
What was your exercise today?
Today I just did like a little tiny bit of stretching before the show, and that was literally it. But I'll level with you because this is a filmmaking podcast. And I mean, I had more of a low energy day today. Like I woke up at like 10. I probably drank a little bit too much Cointreau last night when I was doing my tech checks with you. And so I woke up at like 10, and then I opened the window, and the neighborhood cat came in and got on my bed for a snuggle, and hopefully didn't give me coronavirus.
Peanut butter on your balls and had yourself a nice little time.
One thing led to another. And next thing I know, I wake up and it's 1:30 p.m.
With a cat licking your balls.
And so I started the day late, and then I was like, well, I'll go for a walk and all that. But then I put on my Ugg boots, and I didn't go for a walk.
Once the Ugg boots goes on, it's over.
Yeah, well, I had a few things to do. I had a little bit of work to do because the Show Me Shorts Film Festival has still got the events that I've been working on are still going to be happening, but they're going to be happening online now, streaming live. So I had a wee bit of sort of homework to do for that, which took up my time, and then I had a few other bits and bobs on my mind, and just overall it was just a kind of a low energy day, this one, and so a general malaise, a depression about the end of the world, and so on, struck me, and so I didn't get too much done. I didn't do any exercise, but normally I've been doing push-ups most days.
How many push-ups you do?
3 sets of 12.
Jesus, that's pathetic.
Hey man, it's not about doing lots of them. It's about just doing some light exercise every day. That's all I do. A little bit of light exercise every day. Bit of stretching, a few push-ups. Yeah. A few, I'll do some squats or lunges type thing. I'll just do 3 sets of 12 of everything.
Well,
hey, the proof is in the pudding, mate. Here I am. Knocking on 40. I'm in pretty good shape.
So how's the old herniated disc going?
So that's getting better too. I'm not at 100%, but we're getting better for sure.
Now, what's the...
I'm starting to feel like I give my old self a little bit. I skated home from work recently.
Skater boy. So what is the protocol on your physiotherapy and stuff now in lockdown?
I haven't been doing any. I don't want some grubby guy bloody rubbing me during this pandemic. Absolutely
you don't want
not.
Some grubby guy rubbing you to arousal in this pandemic.
Not at the moment. It's too emotionally confusing for me at the moment.
Well, look, it's good to hear that you're on the mend. Perhaps your total inertia and 12 push-ups a day will help you recover.
Well, yeah, maybe that'll work. There is one good thing about all of this, right? About all of this, crises, is that after 4 weeks of being trapped together with their partners, all of my exes and all of the other women I have crushes on will be getting divorced and breaking up soon. And when they do, I'll be here, waiting like a stone for the second wave of the single cycle.
It could be a little opportunity to reconnect with Angie. Who has a baby, which you'll be adopting, of course, but, sacrifices must be made.
Yeah, well, look, I said that. I said that to her.
You said, look, babe, the world is ending, and I know you've got a kid, but I will absorb that deficit. I will absorb that relationship deficit for you, because that's how much I care. Yeah. No, I'm here. So that's the other thing, right? Like,
I'm literally in solitary confinement basically now for 4 weeks because I don't live with. I've got a flatmate and he's here too, but he's just been working all day in his room, and he's self-isolating anyway, regardless of the quarantine. He's self-isolating because he's worried about somebody that he's connected to, and so we're self-isolating anyway. So we're both in separate rooms. I'm literally just on complete isolation for the duration of this thing. I remember when I first moved in here, I said, "Oh, my isolation is complete." Well, now it really is. Now my isolation really is complete.
Well, look, we can monitor through this podcast when the madness sets in, can't we?
Well, it's going to set in. It's absolutely going to set in, I reckon. But I'm quite excited by all of this, if I'm really honest with you. I'm quite excited with all of this, the whole thing. The whole thing for me, it gives me a little bit of hope because I'm looking around and I'm seeing like the lowered pollution levels, and I'm seeing how we've got this absolute evidence that we can control the economy and decide what to do with it. And now that we've kind of torn it all down, we can rebuild it with more sustainable decisions, investments and so on from here on out. Because why? If your company's just gone bankrupt, you're not going to start up a new company with a big oil generating type, infrastructure. You're going to set it up with like solar shit and, wind that and renewable this stuff, so a lot. It's kind of like tear down a lot of that old world, I reckon, and people are going to rebuild the economy with more, greener options. So that's all quite exciting for me. Plus, it's also just, obviously showing the value of like this socialism and, go Bernie.
Well, look, it's an interesting time. Obviously, it's a unique time in our lives.
A revolutionary time.
I do think, it is kind of interesting, this idea, like lockdown for 4 weeks, like, because you don't want to say lockdown for 3 months because it sounds way worse.
Well, do you want to hear something? Tonight, the Prime Minister, in her pajamas, did an address to the nation via her social media, and in it she said bloody blah. It was all very reassuring. It was all really good, it was good, open, honest stuff. And then at the end of it, before she left out, she goes, so our job is just to stay in for the next 4 months.
Yeah. Freudian slip.
Months. Exactly. That's the thing. She said months, and it's like, okay, was that an innocent mistake, or did she accidentally say what the numbers that she's been getting told, that it could be 4 months of this, and that we might be under fucking, military rule for 4 months, making sure that we're, where we're supposed to be.
I mean, I to be honest, I'm pretty keen on a gamble out to get a weight set on the Facebook Marketplace. Pretty keen for, put the money through the letterbox. The weights are going to be sitting on the drive. You just go for it, mate.
Yeah.
I am pretty keen for that. Flaunting the government's restrictions. But I have to find a co-conspirator who's willing to indulge me.
Who's willing to do that as well. Well, why would you give a shit? If you want to sell something, you'd be like, yeah, mate, I'm absolutely going to put that at the end of my driveway or wherever the fuck it is. Just put the money in the box. I mean, I guess there's an element of risk that you could show up, take the thing, and not put the money in.
Well, I don't want a bad Facebook rating.
No, well, you wouldn't want that. But I imagine they wouldn't really care too much, this other person, because you're not actually connecting with them.
Yeah.
I mean, the bad thing about it, though, is that it's just unnecessary travel, which is the whole point that they're trying to keep down in order to minimize transmission, because then you've got to, you run out of petrol quicker because you did that, and then as a result, you've got to go to the gas station, which runs the risk of, because everybody's got to use it, of transmission. So that's the logic behind it. But if you can walk there, maybe you can get a place you can walk to, and then you can carry the weights home like a big fucking He-Man.
Well, the problem is too many people have been making too much money off their weights in this panic buying era just before it happened. So, But I also, there was a guy on TradeMe, and I was like, any buy now for a game? And he was like, no, I can let the auction run. Well, look who's laughing now, motherfucker, because you can't sell that, because you can't ship it. So, fuck you, you should have given me the buy now. Anyway.
Well,
just want to have that little vent.
Yeah, okay. So that's good. I was in a short film recently, which I mentioned last episode, and I've seen a cut of it now, and I've secretly shown Guy the cut. What were your thoughts?
Verdict is in. It's funny.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I thought it was pretty damn funny too. I was laughing my ass off. I had a big old lull.
There's nothing that quantifies the level of your narcissism more than the amount that you enjoyed that short film while you watched it while we were doing technical checks.
Yeah, Guy watched me watch it.
You were in absolute fits of laughter, total hysterics at yourself, at something you had acted in, had performed, were fully aware of.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a surprise to you.
I hadn't seen it before.
And you were just gripping your sides with
loving
absolute joy at your own, the quality of your own performance.
Well, all of it. Also, the way it looks, because it's a dramatic superhero type shots, and that really worked. They did great. The team did a really awesome job of putting it together, and it really sells it. It really sells my excellent performance.
So I thought it was very funny. I enjoyed it. I think it's really good. Now, a couple of questions. What camera did they film it on?
Oh, it was a black one.
Yep.
It's about all I can tell you.
Shit. What is wrong with
well,
you?
Look, my job's to stand in front of the camera. I don't, not go over to the DP and go, "Hey, mate, what you packing there? Oh, is that a black magic? Is that? Oh, is it raw? Is it raw now? Is he making it raw? Was that 4K?"
As a producer, that is 100% what you're meant to do as you're on these shoots, because you're gathering intel for your own shoots.
Yeah. Yes, and here's the intel I gathered. That DP is good, and he has good gear that looks nice, and he'll show up and do a good job. Yeah, it does. And then later on, we can, if we need somebody, I can go, "Hey, man, so what kit you running?" And then he can tell me, if we need him later. I don't need to know what he's got right now. He's probably going to upgrade it in fucking 2 months anyway.
Not in 2 months.
I don't know those technical shit.
Despair. Photo Gear, another place that I often buy equipment from, gone. PB Tech, gone. They've all lost to COVID-19. It's like, shit. So what happens if I want to fucking buy gear now? And what I'm worried about is because, America is on the precipice, I think. America is on the precipice of absolute chaos. And they're not there yet.
Well,
they're not there yet. And they may not be there for a few more weeks. In some places it is business as usual.
Man, it's going to be post-apocalyptic over there soon, I reckon.
It's just, it's skyrocketing, who's infected, where they're infected, the testing, everything. It's all going to escalate in a very fast way, and without those really solid rules in place, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And when it does, Amazon, my favorite place, is also going to go down, and I just don't know if I can.
Yeah, so this is going to affect you as well. The death of millions is going to affect you as well, and it's important that people know that.
Then if they're all dying, I can't buy them. I can't be a consumer.
Well, who's gonna pack it? Who's gonna pack it?
The consumer that I want to be in this post-apocalyptic consumerism. So anyway, I'm back. I have to go back to AliExpress, eBay, get back on the China buzz, because China have recovered now. So you can be sure that they're gonna hold it down.
Well, this is what I'm saying, man.
They're gonna hold it down for us.
Yeah, well, and their economy is going to recover quicker than everyone else's because they're getting started first.
Yep.
And they're kind of the engine. So shit's going to be changing geopolitically after this.
But I really also hope that, we're going to say this a million times, but I really hope that Donald Trump is taken to task for his buffoonery and his
incompetence,
his blasé attitude in the.
He's brought shame upon a glorious
and he's
nation.
also potentially caused millions of deaths or if not millions, like
Yeah.
hundreds of or tens of thousands, a lot, which is none of those things are good. So I hope, because I watched a sort of Twitter thing with him where he sort of basically, like, the spin now is, this is all the things we're doing. This is all the things I've done. This is all the things we've done.
Yeah.
Not really acknowledging the sort of the dangers or the threats or anything, but just like, we made this, we've made that, we've ordered these things, we've done all these things, and it's like, sure you've done those things, but you've done those, very, very late in the piece after dismissing this as a fucking hoax at one point,
And all the profiteering and all that stuff as well. Selling off stock and all that. Fucking greedy scumbags.
Look, I think your film, back to your film, I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. I want to know what the fuck you filmed it on. You should probably ask some motherfucker about that. Research in the time of Corona is what. So,
yeah.
But that's a job for you as a producer. You put the producer hat on.
It's not. I don't. That's not what the producer does. The producer doesn't care what kind of camera it is. The producer knows that they've got a good camera, and then later on we can figure out if it's important or not. You're like, do you know any good DPs? I'll go, yeah, I know a guy who showed up. He had some good gear, made it look nice. And then you go, what's he got? And I'll go, I'll find out, get back to you. Because he's probably updated it since then anyway. So
a camera's life cycle lasts more than a couple of months, Harley.
You just want to know. That's it.
Absolutely,
but it's not crucial.
Well, it is, because again, we're working in this low budget world.
Oh, hey mate, what kind of sound gear have you got there? What kind of sound kits that you got on you?
To compare.
Oh, that's interesting.
And make notes and make adjustments accordingly. If we do not have this information, we cannot make those adjustments.
Is this the L'Oreal makeup?
Floundering in the dark. Some
Noted.
Dipshit never pays attention to any camera equipment.
Doesn't need to know. Don't need to know it. It's never helped me.
So, again, like, speaking of the front line of Corona, right? Essential services.
Love.
Who are these essential services? Well, there's
a few heroes that walk among us. Those brave souls that can come to the rescue at these times, these tough times.
You might even call them.
I am, of course. You might even call them.
Well, you might even call them war heroes in the face of Corona.
Yeah. You could. And who are these people?
These people are Uber drivers. So, in case you
say thank you. Thank you for your service, sir.
Salute them as you get into the Uber. Salute them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm saluting you right now, Guy, because you're a hero.
We appreciate your contribution. Now, obviously, I'm a retired Uber driver, but it's
so you haven't actually done any Ubering on the front line. But you could if you wanted to.
Ubering in approximately just about a year. However, that option is open to me, and due to the impending recession and my potential impending unemployment at my teaching job, it's very likely that I will be returning to the brave front lines they are on the front lines of this virus at the moment. Because if you get into the car, who's traveling? Well, sick people are going.
You're well within 2 minutes.
People are going to the hospital, right? People with the virus are going to get checked out, and that's quite a lot of the people you might be picking up. So,
and also then all the other people who work closely with the virus as well, who don't have it, but who work closely with it and stuff.
Doctors, all those sorts of people.
You're transporting those other heroes to the front line.
So, I'm not going to call myself a hero, but on the same token, as an Uber driver, really...
Is there another word for
it? So, that's certainly a possibility. But I also do wonder if that's really a good idea. I'm just not sure what the other option is. If we don't have people still Ubering and taxi driving.
Well, I don't think it's a great idea, on account of the danger and the lack of pay. Because basically it's going to be it's going to be just like Ubering was, except for there'll be 1 million more drivers and 1 million less people to take anywhere. You'll just be taking the essential staff, So it's like you're going to be making fuck all, and you're going to be putting your life at risk. So if you don't really need it, well, not your life probably, but your health at risk. So if you don't really need to, I'd probably just hang back.
Also, and this goes back to my,
because then you risk bringing it back into your home as well, and infecting those around
absolutely. you. Absolutely, and back if we, harken back to my earlier shitty jobs that I used to do, I was a window cleaner. And when we used to work on high-rise buildings and stuff like that, we sometimes got what we would term danger pay, which is when the risk of falling off a building to your death is much higher because you're walking around a tiny fucking ledge with a safety harness that you have to clip on and unclip. You should get danger pay. And I do definitely think that these people should get danger pay. I mean, why not, right? I mean, They are really putting themselves at risk. So it's kind of interesting, and no doubt I may have some Uber stories from the front line in a few months' time when I have to go back to doing that. But I think we should just acknowledge our Uber brothers. But, one of the tragedies of this lockdown is the disruption, or I guess the eradication of Uber Eats.
Yeah. Well, that hasn't bothered me too much. I also noticed those queues of, fat, slovenly KFC eaters, these animal cruelty loving, slovenly KFC eaters all lining up around the block, literally around the block, to go through the drive-through one last time before they're forced to take 4 weeks off. You fat cunts. What? Get a grip. Get a fucking grip. Who is standing? Who does that?
Well, can I just interject for a second? And I don't appreciate being called fat or slovenly. I do take exception to that. But I will say that, obviously takeaway, so restaurants, bars, they're all closed, right? What does that mean? Well, all those kinds of food, including Uber Eats, including everything, is closed. So my question to you is, did you have a last meal, Harley?
Nah, I had a couple on the day before, the final day of freedom. I ate for dinner 2 eggs.
Yep.
Boiled and mashed in a cup with some butter, bit of salt and pepper.
Disgusting.
And some toast. Some toast chopped up into soldiers.
Absolutely disgusting.
And then I believe I might have topped that off with some mussels later, directly from the pot punnet. Yeah. Some mussels. Yeah, and then and then I believe I had a bag of potato chips while I was talking to you on Skype. Yeah, doing some tech checks. So that's about what I had for my last meal.
So yeah, I mean, we talk about last meals on death row and all that. So my last meal was, well, we got some Korean takeaway. But we also, when we knew that it was the last time we could ever, we had to take a dip to Hell's Pizza and enjoy the delicacies of Hell's Pizza for maybe 3 months. We don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to Sly Will, who's shown up on the live stream. What up, Sly Will? Welcome to the show.
Sly Will.
He's here. A toast to Sly Will, live on the show. So let us know if you got any topics, Will, because we're standing by, sir.
Yeah, I should also just mention that I am drinking a epic hop zombie IPA.
Yeah.
Apropos of the lockdown. Yeah. I'm
drinking a Max and a Cointreau. I'm double fisting.
we also got an emergency text from the government. It's the first time I've ever got one of those.
Oh yeah, I've had a few.
You've had a few?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, mate.
What was the last one for?
Can't remember. Maybe earthquake, or maybe the fire in the city. Actually, the fire in the city in Auckland when the roof burnt down. I got it every time I went into the CBD because I worked down there. So it was like rant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but I got quite a shock to get a sort of a text, a worldwide government text that's just sent out to everyone, and it was this really annoying siren, like we're being bombed, like it's World War II. And then it's like a warning, going into lockdown at 12 o'clock tomorrow, midnight. Do everything you need to.
Well, this is real.
And I was like, God damn, really? But that's how you're going to get emergency texts, so I guess it should be expected.
This is the new normal.
What was your last day of freedom like? Your last meal was a piece of shit. What was your last day of freedom like?
Mate,
it was a piece of shit as well.
Literally none of this has affected me whatsoever in terms of my day-to-day life. I'm just doing the exact same thing that I always do, right? Like I've been living isolated and not touching door handles for literally years. Like it really hasn't affected me whatsoever. I'm just as celibate as I was before. I used to go to work and come home, but sometimes as a freelancer, you'd have like a week with no work when something like that happens. In which case, I just do what I'm doing right now, which is the same shit that I always do, So the difference is obviously I got a bit more spare time now because I got literally nowhere to go.
100% unemployed.
I'm 100% unemployed, permanently. But overall, this has really not been a huge, change to me in my lifestyle so far. So that's my last day was just like all of my days, really.
The pictures of your ex-girlfriend.
Yep. That's
remembering fun times.
Now, see, this is the thing. This whole thing's been pretty sweet, really. I mean, I always knew that being non-essential to civilization would pay off one day, right? So, in terms of like an apocalypse, I know that there's some people out there that are going through hard times, obviously, very uncertain times and that. But in terms of an apocalypse, I'm actually pretty happy with this one, right?
In terms of a war, right? Where you could go into battle and die. And there's been a lot of jokes about it online. Or you could stay home and play PS4 for a month. Fucking which one would you rather?
Well, that's a pretty simple choice. And pollution and mindless consumerism, they're all at an all-time low.
Really gutted about TradeMe. Yep, go on.
You're gutted about that, but overall, this is pretty good. Mindless consumerism, it's at an all-time low. Pollution's at an all-time low. Entire populations of grubby humans have been forcibly taught the importance of washing their hands. And I've got a 4-week all-expenses-paid holiday thanks to the New Zealand's $12 billion, the New Zealand government's $12 billion economic rescue package. Thanks, Jacinda. What a country! What a country!
Look, complain about how New Zealand is dealing, at least. Don't get me wrong, everyone's got a lot of concerns. Our jobs are all in jeopardy or gone, depending on who you are. And there's a lot of unrest and but the way that our government has stepped up, the way that they haven't gone, well, it's your fucking problem how you pay the rent. See ya, which many governments have. That has not been the case for us.
Yeah.
We have been very fortunate.
Well, we're very lucky.
We are very lucky in the country that we live, and I am very grateful for that. I guess for me, you talked about it not really being a difference. It's also made no real difference to me, except that I don't have the freedom to drive and pick up a hard drive or pick up something or drop off something. But in terms of my work, obviously, I actually haven't stopped. Like, I spent all day doing bits and pieces for my teaching job and doing bits and pieces for Older and Imi the Vegan. And that's the shit that I do all the time. And I'm going to continue to do that, at least in the short term. and until I have to become an Uber driver again.
This is quite a good chance to get all the shit that we need to get done out of the way, so we could do a bit of FaceTime and do a little powwow, where we basically just get all the shit done like we did with getting this whole OBS set up, streaming set up last night, so we could do similar things. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah. Well, you had a lot to learn. That's all that stuff that I'm doing when you think that I'm doing nothing. Learning all that stuff.
I mean, to be fair, it's nothing once it's all done. You just open the application.
Yeah, but then I'm on to learning the next thing. That's just one little kernel of the knowledge in this huge brain that I lug about with me. My poor wee body has to carry this giant brain around all the time.
The curse of the hyper-intelligent man.
Yeah, so
laughs at his own jokes for 60 seconds.
Well, it was very well put together. It was very funny and very well put together. I look forward to releasing that. And as far as I'm aware, there's not any big delay on that coming out. It's they've only got a first cut of it so far. There'll be a bit of delay on the score and the fine tuning of it. But overall, I don't imagine it's going to take them a long time to get it released, which is cool. So I'll be able to release that on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. So while I'm in solitary, I was thinking of the things we could do, things I could do to kind of stay active, and I thought this is probably a pretty good chance for me to get back into like comedy and poetry, stand-up comedy and stage poetry. And the reason why is that there's a few people out there trying to put together shows at the moment for exactly that, where basically it's a webcam show where everybody tunes in at the same time. You go 7 p.m. on Wednesday, everybody tune into this link. And then somehow, presumably with something very similar to OBS, they cut from each source and put it on air. So it'd be me on air doing my bit, and then they'd cut to the next guy, I guess. But anyway, it's a live show that you do, live to whatever audience they have. So I think that'd be quite cool. And just so I'm looking to join up and do a couple of those things, do a bit of bedroom poetry and a bit of bedroom stand-up comedy. And then also the other thing I want to do is I want to get onto a bunch of other people's podcasts. So if you have a podcast out there and you're listening and there's something we can do via Skype, holla at your boy, slide into my DMs. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. And you can find us there, or you can email us at guyandharley@gmail.com. And so do that. So that would be the plan, basically, to try and go and get onto a bunch of other people's podcasts, just because that's obviously no work for me apart from showing up, basically, and prepping a few witty one-liners to slide in at opportune moments.
Well, see, the problem for me is, because I would love for this to be true downtime for me, but essentially,
Well, you're one of the unlucky buggers who's still got a job.
I've been cursed with the continued employment.
Here I was thinking that I was in a bad position.
But really it's me having to do work. And look, I'm talking facetiously. I'm happy that I've got an income and all that sort of thing. But I will say that it's very hard to do work in the apocalypse. It's very hard. And I don't mean like work on my own projects. That's easy. But to sort of be motivated to educate and to teach. You're kind of like, the fucking world's ending. What do you care about? Digital media design,
you've got no future anyway. You're as good as dead.
We're in a recession now. You can't get employed after this. I'm not going to teach you it. There's no point. Just give up. And yet, here I sit having to work out how to motivate my students when I myself am not very motivated. Because you talked about a malaise. It is that malaise. It's like the world has shut down, right? In New Zealand, the world has shut down. Everything has shut down. And yet somehow you're meant to turn around and go, hey guys, but do you want to learn this cool stuff about, shooting video and web pages? Are you guys interested in that right now? And it's like, of course we're not fucking interested in that right now. We don't know where our next meal's coming from. We're on the fucking the Benny.
And it's so easy to skip it as well, because it's online. You're like, fuck it.
And I totally both empathize and understand with this, all these students sort of being like, we don't even know, because, is this course continue? is this course continuing? Is this facility that you work at folding due to the lack of students? Like, all of those things are entirely possible, and yet we're meant to sort of carry on like, hey, it's all good, guys. Like, hey, like, yeah, go and do these things in your fucking room. Like, if you think about teaching now, it's essentially homework 24/7.
Yeah. Well, no, because what you need to do is get your live stream set up looking nice, and you just literally do your class like just live all day as if you were there, but you're not.
I will say they've advocated against
set up a whiteboard.
Advocated against that. So basically,
why
would
you do?
They're like, with the influx of people on the internet could go down. Students may not have good access to internet, etc., etc. Therefore,
is there? Have you heard rumors? Is there a possibility that our internet access might be affected?
Yes, I have heard that.
What, because of all the people like you and me streaming on 5 different platforms, doing all this type of shit.
Every motherfucker and their dog right now is streaming their content and talking over their PS4 fucking headset.
That's why we don't have any
whacking off
viewers.
And therefore that's why they're sort of like, we highly. So basically, they've advised like, don't. Like, you can address all your students if you want and do it live, but we sort of advocate not doing it that way, because of that fact. So, you know, like, obviously, you know, but also it's just a different environment. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Sorry, I didn't catch that because of the lag. Sorry, you cut out. Sorry, that other person interrupted that other person on the live stream, and I didn't hear either of you. Sorry, I don't have a whiteboard, and I can't purchase one due to Corona. You know. Yeah,
well, Granddad ran his ass up the beach on Normanby in 44. But this is your cross to bear, Guy.
Yeah.
This is your cross to bear.
What?
That lag.
Oh, the lag of the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. The lag.
Had to dodge bullets. I had to dodge bandwidth restrictions.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm not complaining, but I am. I think it's just hard to I think it's hard to focus in a time like this when all you think about is like, well, fucking goddamn, like, what's going to happen?
Well, look, it's a big concern for sure. I mean, like, as mentioned, I was on that Defender Man shoot, and that was the day that the virus really kicked in for me. The reality of the virus really kicked in for me.
It wasn't a 10% a teapot anymore. It was fucking.
It wasn't a 10% a teapot anymore at that point.
Had concernedly talked about on the podcast prior.
Do you know what's funny though? Is that my friend was the one who is ill prepared, who got sick, who you haven't told the listeners yet, but bought a couch in the recession. And meanwhile, here I am quitting my gym. I've paused my gym. I've plugged up all the little things. I'm eating eggs and toast on my last day of freedom because I'm like, nah, I'm going back to being poor, man. I told you last episode. It's like being poor is like riding a bike. You never forget how to do it. And so as soon as I saw what was happening, I was like, whoa, I got to tighten up this fucking belt. And now I've been smushing my fat guts into my tight belt. But soon that'll all change. That fat guts will be gone. So I'll be eating my eggs every night.
And the muscles.
Yeah. Eggs and mussels and other things I can eat at home. Every day, homie. Every day. That's it. That's Harley's. See, I've got my own workout, right? I call it the paleo workout because I only move my body how my ancestors would have. You see? And that's what I do. I just move my body around a little bit. I do some push-ups. I do some squats, right? I just do some stretching and keep limber. And then once I feel good, I'm like, okay, cool. And I'll go for a walk or whatever as well. And that type of thing. I admit I could do a little bit more cardio, but I mean, Jesus, like normally when I started doing the push-ups, by the way, I did like to, I thought I was going to like train in the nude, like a Spartan warrior. But I didn't want to do the push-ups at first because I didn't want the tip of my penis to dangle down and touch the dirty floor, But it turned out that wasn't a problem in the
end. Yeah, nothing to worry about. If anything,
nothing to worry about.
The concern was the balls.
Yeah.
The balls grazing
exactly,
up and down on that carpet, getting a bit of carpet burn going.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, look, it's an interesting time.
I'm kidding, by the way. Just for the record, if anybody is wondering, like if I showed my penis to a doctor, he would probably describe it as saying that I had regional gigantism and pre-mortem rigor mortis.
Yeah. Well, he would describe that because you were fucking fully erect in his face.
Exactly. Pre-mortem rigor mortis.
Look, it's a weird time. I mean, also the other thing is like Corona, like I think the biggest problem with the coronavirus is people not taking it seriously. From America to the UK to everywhere, in the sense that it's like, yeah, you can see it in the impact of like the supermarket where you go to buy your fucking food or whatever. But for us, you know, well, we'll talk about maybe I got it, maybe I didn't get it, but we'll assume that I haven't. But you know, it's like, you don't necessarily know
because it's statistically unlikely. So let's assume that you don't have
necessarily know someone that's got it. And also the ramifications, like you don't go like you haven't walked into a hospital recently and seen all the wards full up with people, and you haven't seen all the doctors and nurses, you know, falling asleep, you know, on their smoko breaks because they're overworked, and you haven't seen all the people dying and and people zipping up body bags and all that stuff. You haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. So when we talk about this virus, it's totally invisible. It's like smoking. Smoking is fine until they go, you got cancer, you got 1 year to live, you know?
And then you're like, it wasn't fucking worth it.
And so I think there's a lot of that in the sense that, you know, how do you, that invisible man syndrome, right? Like, you don't know it's there. It could be anywhere. Is it in this room? Is it on that person that you walk past? Is it in that dairy that you bought a Coke from? You know, you don't fucking know. And it's weird because, you know, sometimes, like, obviously, in a war or whatever, the impact is visible. It's visible to everyone. Whereas this isn't. And I think that has made the world take less notice, to heed it less, to heed the problem of it less. But also, unfortunately, you know, the impacts of it won't be seen till sort of further on down the line, you know, like... And it is a cumulative as opposed to like, tomorrow I'll see everyone, you know, coughing on the street and dying and falling over. No, you won't see that. It's that when at some point you get into a car accident and you need to be rushed to hospital, the ambulance takes 40 minutes to get there because it's dealing with several cases of serious things, and it gets there and then it drops you off to the ICU, which is full, and then the doctor, which is overworked, and then you die when you would have lived otherwise.
Well, that's the big issue.
So there's actually a great article about it called The Hammer and the Curve, and maybe we can share a link to that on the Guy and Harley podcast. But it really sort of...
all you got to do, Guy, is go to facebook.com/Guy and Harley, and you'll be able to read it there once Guy posts it there.
Harley handles all the admin here, and...
Guy has the link, so rather than copying the link and sending it in a message to me, it would make a lot more sense for Guy to just put the link on the Facebook page and press enter.
But it's very pertinent information that Harley should probably also take a look at, and therefore read...
Which I will as soon as it is posted.
And share the link to all of our viewers.
Once you post it.
But it's not the hammer and the curve, it's the hammer and the dance. But it's basically about this full impact measures. It basically extrapolates on the London Royal Medical Centre School or whatever, their sort of testing or sort of statistical data based around what happens if we do this, what happens if we do nothing, what happens if we do everything. And so there's been this which all the governments are now basing their sort of research off, is this paper that's been published, and this article extrapolates on the paper and says, okay, but then what happens a little bit further down the line, and what does that mean for our respective governments and countries? And it's very interesting. It's very well worth a read. So Harley will post that in the comment section. But essentially, it does mean it's...
Oh, you mean post it now for the live streamers?
No. I mean at the end.
We've only got one. It's only Sly Will. What up, Will?
Well, I mean, I can see... I don't know if I can see 3 comments or 3 people watching.
Oh, yeah, there's 3 people watching. But it's 2, because one of them's me.
Shit. You motherfucker, you got my hopes up.
Yeah. So there is somebody else. Well, no, I think there's only one person. Anyway. I've been watching Pandemic recently on Netflix. So that's good for the old mental health. Just watch that. Just see how it all unfolds. And what's interesting about it is that it's a documentary series on Netflix, and it's a lot of it came out. I think it's a year old, but it talks about it all. It's like bats, China, like all of this stuff. It predicted it basically. Right. Which is really interesting. So that was quite good. And I've been waiting for my copy of Doom Eternal to arrive in the mail. And in the meantime, I've been trying to finish off Red Dead 2. And then once I've finished it, I can send it to you. I've been playing it, but I found that I spend all my time doing the side quests instead of progressing the main story. And, I'm already doing enough of that in real life.
Progressing the side quests?
Yeah, the side quests instead of the main story.
The main story in your life versus the side quests in your life?
Well, I guess the main story would be getting Pigville up and running, getting a wife and a child, and a sustainable, kind of business situation set up. That would be all be considered progressing the story, I think.
And the side quests? Jerking it?
Wanking, yeah, I guess we have to go direct to that. I did clock Pornhub recently on hard, so that was I don't know, probably just fucking around with, I don't even know, everything else I do in my life.
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest encumbrance to our lives is our day jobs, really.
Exactly. So we got 4 weeks off.
Well, you do.
No, look, I'm working for this film festival. Fucking flat out, mate. Fucking balls to the wall, mate. God, I've just got no time.
Whereas I have to prep some stuff for my students because we're back at it on April 6th. Essentially have to rewrite
April 7th,
my entire course.
Right, to make it on air. Make it
just
online.
Adjust it,
Yeah. Well, on April 7th is the Show Me Shorts screening of short films by Iranian female filmmakers. So if any of the listeners want to tune into that, I'll be sharing that link on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. And what happens is you buy a ticket, and this is what we would normally do in a bar, but obviously we've moved it online. And so basically you buy a ticket and then you watch 7 short films, all made by Iranian female filmmakers, with an introduction from the Show Me Shorts team, which we'd normally do live in person, obviously. So that's what's happening on the 7th of April. So if you guys should all come along to that.
Yeah, and look, obviously the benefit of that is that you can masturbate privately in your own home to the films.
Exactly. And you don't have to hide it from the person sitting next to you. Because they know.
That's the beauty of this new world that we're living in, is no one knows when you're masturbating anymore. So you can just do it at your leisure, and if one of these films takes your fancy, you can have at it, and no one will question that. No one will look at you funny from the seat adjacent to you. Yeah, just let that sink in.
It's wise words from Guy Pigville.
Speaking of your love life, we did mention the English Rose. Now, how's she doing in quarantine now? Where's your relationship? Have you sort of graduated to Skype sex, which is really going to be the only option going forward?
me sending her dick pics counts as Skype sex,
well,
right?
It does for
unsolicited. Me sending her unsolicited dick pics and her not responding, that counts as Skype sex, right?
Her blocking you, yeah, absolutely counts.
Yeah. In that case, I'm definitely having Skype sex.
Yeah.
Lots of that.
Never had more.
No, so never had more. No, so she's an essential worker, so she's still working throughout all of this because she's a vet nurse. So animals still get sick regardless. In fact, probably when there's a virus around, maybe more animals get sick, although supposedly it doesn't affect them. Bit worried about the little cat that comes in and out of my room all the time, whoring herself around all my neighbours, and then coming in, then coming in here.
And licking your balls all the time. That's obviously a concern, for sure.
And so, anyway, as a vet nurse, she is still required to work, and so she's out there on the front lines dealing with people and all that stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to go and see her, but then on top of that, like, we've kind of like basically petered out and kind of stopped talking really. These last, I haven't had a message with her since the lockdown type thing. Incident. Basically, since I told her, and I don't know if this made it into the last episode or not, but I had already told. I sent her the previous episode in which we talked about the hairy back and the, inability in bed and all that type of stuff. And so I feel like we never really recovered from that. I feel like maybe she failed the test. The test being, the test being, can she handle how hairy I am and the podcast. So I guess we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's all quiet. It's all quiet on the western front.
On the English Rose front. Look, we should just quickly mention, so far we've had 283 cases of corona documented. 78 new cases today, which is the most it's leapt in a day.
Sorry, how many did you say we have? In
total, 283. And we had 73 today.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's going to keep going up, and we don't need to worry about that because we knew it is because we've got that 2-week delay. So this is all the people that have got infected over the past little while, while everyone's been kind of fucking around and not taking it seriously. Well, but it's okay. Yes. We'll get to this chain breaking. The breaker of chains. That's what they call Jacinda, the breaker of chains. Because she's going to break this.
Speaking of breaker of chains and Game of Thrones, which obviously Bran the Broken, spoiler alert, ends up on the not the Iron Throne because that was melted. And I can say all this very conclusively because my girlfriend just watched all of Game of Thrones season 8. And I'm just
great. So she's finally
I'm just going to throw out something here. Just going to throw it out. All you motherfuckers are stupid. That season was fine. You're fucking fucked if you think it's bad. Yeah, it's fine. Like, literally, the only bad thing is maybe the last 20 minutes of the last fucking episode. It's all action-packed. You get fucking everything. All things are resolved. Jesus Christ, you are grateful pieces of shit.
It's all tied up so nicely. Everything works. The whole brand story, it all fits.
So fucking ungrateful. Fuck you all.
Yeah, the world's best TV show. I'd say if I had to choose one TV show, it'd be down to that and Band of Brothers.
What's wrong with you that you could watch season 8 and go, I'm fucking angry? Like, really?
Yeah.
Fucking really?
But that's just people, man. That's how people roll. That's how people roll. They got to hate whatever's cool. People take pride in their ignorance as well sometimes. That's why you see people post things like memes that go, I'm one of the 1% of the population that's never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. And it's like, cool, you're an idiot and you're advertising it.
You want a fucking medal for not sort of absorbing some of the greatest television that has been produced in the last 30 years? You fucking piece of shit.
Ever.
So, speaking of scaring the... Am I scaring the dogs? I'm scaring the dogs by shouting.
Yeah. This show's too action-packed.
It is too action-packed. But I will just... I mean, we should... maybe... Where are we at? How long have we been recording this? Can you check that?
I'll tell you that, Gary. 1 hour and 20 minutes, but that includes a bunch of technical fucking around stuff that we had to cut out as well. But yeah, we're about an hour.
Okay, well, I mean, I want to just talk about a couple of things. I did have a corona scare myself, and look, this is the reality and the problem with the idea, like, you know, this many people have it, or that many people have it, and this is what we know. Okay, so the coronavirus hits at the end of last week. I was starting to feel sick. I had some of the symptoms, but not all. I didn't have a fever. That was the sort of thing that I was missing, but I had a sort of a dry cough. I was feeling under the weather, a little blocked up, you know, and it could absolutely just be a cold, or it could be absolutely a mild case of corona, because what the sort of specialists say is that, like, corona doesn't have to be horrific, and corona doesn't have to show all the symptoms. In fact, they had an interview with someone, and she's like, she was in hospital, and she's like, yeah, I've got this cough, I feel terrible, but I've never had this fever that they keep talking about. And so we really don't know how it's going to affect one person's immune system. So for me, I sort of started to self-isolate, and I called up Healthline. Couldn't get through for several days. I called up my GP. Couldn't get through to my GP. They never returned. I couldn't even leave messages because the messages box was full. They didn't reply to my email. And then we got a sort of a generic blanket email, which was like, never come and see us for anything. And so if you want to talk about sort of the strain on the health system, that's the evidence right there. And they were sort of urging people, if you think you've got symptoms, call this Healthline. Well, the Healthline started off by connecting saying, sorry, but no one can get through on this line at the moment. And they didn't say, please call back. They didn't say, leave a message. They didn't say anything. It just hangs up. I called back later on, and you couldn't even get through. It was literally like a disconnected line. Finally, I managed to get through, and I was like, hey, I feel like I've got these symptoms. My other concern is that I teach at a school with, you know, hundreds of kids, many international students that I don't know have adhered to the sort of 14-day isolation policy. Not only that, but my partner has just been to a conference with many international guests, you know, that, you know, allegedly we don't know if any of them do or don't have corona, etc., etc. So I feel like, and she also works at a retirement village, and if corona were to populate there, everyone could get sick and die. And so I sort of raised all these concerns to Healthline, and they were like, cool, what are your symptoms? And I was like, this, and this. And they're like, cool. Have you been traveling overseas? And I was like, no. But all these things. And they're like, cool. Have you got a fever? And I was like, no. But don't you not need necessarily a fever? And they're like, cool. We're not going to test you. And you can call this line, but I can tell you right now they're not going to test you. And I was like, okay, well, so should I just go back to work then? And they're like, yeah, just go back to work. And I was like, that's the...
What they said, go back to work. You said work. You didn't say, should I self-isolate or something?
I was like, so given my...
But that's just incompetence on the behalf of that particular phone operator, probably. Because that's not the official policy. The official policy is if you think you got it, even back then. But that is the,
you know, essentially I was like, here's my symptoms. Here's the thing. What do you think? Healthline, let me know what is your expert opinion? Where am I at? Can I get a test? Can I not? I couldn't get a test.
Yeah, but they can't test everyone. Like, well, that's normal. They've got to cut it down somehow. And the answer is, let's just test people that we are pretty sure have got it. You know, people with three symptoms, which might be fever, this, that, and that.
The problem with that is that there's been a lot of talk over here that, like, most of, like, it has now reached what they call community transmission, but most of these cases can be traced back to international travel. And it's like, of course, they can all be traced back to international travel because you're
because it wasn't born here. It came from China. The China virus. China.
I was going to more say, because you're only testing all the people that have had contact or have traveled internationally. That's literally the criteria for your tests, which creates this huge gap with people like me who may or may not have it, but can't get tested, so don't know.
Mm.
So anyway, I'm feeling better. Do I have corona? I don't know. Prince Charles got corona. He's going about his business.
Yeah.
So...
Well, he's also got the best healthcare in the world.
Well, he personally does.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I have corona. My girlfriend, while still refusing to have sex with me, thinks that I do not have corona. And so I'm kind of like, well, if you're refusing to have sex, I don't understand. Either I've got corona, or you have to have sex with me. It's one or the other. You can't be making these deals. You've just got to be reasonable here.
Yeah.
You got to be reasonable. But that's been her policy.
Her policy, yeah.
Yeah, just for safety, she says. For safety.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on there. So look, I don't know. Well, do you have anything else? I do have a couple of other things, but...
Well, I just feel like, the only hope left for humanity is if advanced aliens find us and subjugate us. Then we might survive. We might survive then as a species. We'll be a cattle. We'll be like cattle, but we will survive. Cattle are actually a very successful, species. If you think, the arrangement between, bovine and Homo sapiens has been like that's worked out really well for them, because even though they all live in misery, there's literally hundreds of millions of them. From a straight evolutionary perspective, they're hugely successful because of us. Now we could be subjugated by aliens and they can breed us to eat us and do whatever, or use us in their armies as mindless soldiers or whatever they want to train us to be.
I was gonna say sucking some alien
then we might
dick.
Survive. Well, I imagine there will be some perverts amongst them that want to fuck an ugly human alien, an ugly alien human. So you that might happen. You might find yourself giving an alien blowjob at some point.
Well, look, I'd rather we just deal with this virus and avoid the alien invasion personally.
Well, I'd like that too.
I should also just mention, because this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
And speaking of filmmaking, I did watch, and I think one of our listeners may have asked this before, but I finally bit the bullet and I watched a Japanese film called One Cut of the Dead.
Oh, yep. Everyone's been talking to me about this as well. Supposedly it's very close to I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
Yeah, well,
in terms of the storyline.
I was fired up.
And it came out after our film.
I was fired up. And having watched it, it's not the same, as in, it's exactly the same fucking premise, and the sort of, the majority of the story is very similar, but then it sort of shifts perspectives to after the fact. So spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it. I don't fucking care, because they plagiarized us.
Plagiarized?
Well, what did you say before? Maneuvers, motherfucker. Manure. But anyway, so they
maneuver. You say maneuver. You go, it's a maneuver.
What a maneuver! Oh, what a maneuver!
All right.
They
maneuver.
They plagiarize.
I'm sorry. I speak the Queen's English. I'm terribly sorry.
So they did, to some degree, plagiarize us, because it's
double down.
On the one hand, it's a zombie film about people making a zombie film, and then real zombies attack a zombie film, right? Yeah. And then and then sort of, instead of at the very, very end, but sort of I guess 2/3 of the way through, it switches to, hey, this is us making that zombie film about the zombies attacking a zombie film, which we only did in the very last sort of 5 minutes of our film. But it's exactly the fucking same.
The last 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a film about a film. I see what you're saying.
So
yeah.
I watched it. I sort of got, my levels of anger escalated as I watched it, and then they sort of depreciated as it sort of continued on. But what really fucks me off is that I've read so many
maneuver books about maneuvering.
I've had so many maneuvers.
Maneuvering. Political
I've
maneuvering.
read so many fucking interviews about this film. Like, it's a piece of genius. You just have to stick with it. It's a masterpiece. You stick with it. It's a little bit weird to begin with, but it's absolutely a gem. It's this amazing different take on the zombie films. It's like, hey, motherfuckers, we did this.
Yeah.
We fucking did this 2 to 3 years before this film came out, and they fucking stole our idea, and they're the geniuses? Fucking really?
Guy, mate,
really?
that's the name of this game. That's how this works. This is how all of this works. And where you have to take your solace is in the fact that you, as an artist, have created something which has affected the greater population and the greater art movement. You now can claim to be a true part of the zombie renaissance that happened. Because your work has directly inspired and motivated other work, which has gone on to do better than your work. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
And forget about my work.
Well, to be fair, people have forgotten about your work long before that came out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe true, but it just reminded me of the story, and we have mentioned this on the podcast before, but it's the idea that Sergio Leone, amazing director, made a Western, and the Western was pretty much the exact same beat-for-beat plot as an Akira Kurosawa film.
The Seven Samurai.
I think it was, so it was like his film, which was A Fistful of Dollars, was a direct rip-off of sort of a Western, but in samurai, of the samurai Yojimbo. I think it was Yojimbo, which was a Akira Kurosawa film. And anyway, Akira Kurosawa messaged this filmmaker, and he goes, I have to applaud you on your film, sir. It is a very good film, sir, but it is my film. And I feel like fucking messaging this motherfucker and saying that exact same thing. Also, he had to pay royalties from doing that rip-off. This guy will probably not have to do that, but still winds me up.
Well,
I'm hot. I'm a little bit hot.
Well, you shouldn't do that. You should message him and say how grateful you are to have inspired him, and that you would love to work with him in the future, and that he's actually a big fan of yours, Guy. I don't know why you're so upset. This guy is literally your number one fan. He loves your work so much that he found thousands of dollars to replicate it and tell his version of your story. And he wants to hear from you.
But see, here's the thing.
He wants to hear from you.
This is my beef with all of it.
With your approval.
This is my beef with all of it. It's fine to do all that shit and then wear your heart on your sleeve and you go, well, to be honest, I was really inspired by this film from New Zealand called I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
But you have to acknowledge that statistically it's very expected that he wouldn't have seen or even heard of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Definitely not seen it.
Why?
He wouldn't have heard about it. What do you mean, why? Because literally nobody heard of it. It's a $250,000 film from New Zealand that nobody heard of because we had no marketing money. So there's no reason for this person to have heard of it.
Nobody heard of it in New Zealand.
Nobody heard of it anywhere. There was our marketing was not good. There was no money for our marketing. So the chances that every filmmaker in the world would have heard about it.
Severely underestimating.
You're going to make a generalization about people that like zombie films right now.
I think you're severely underestimating the reach of the US and Canada audience and the idea that it's playing all the time on a TV show. It's available on all these different networks. And, it was, pretty successful as a festival thing.
But it's not even available in Japan, is it?
Not like...
So it's literally not even available in the country that this guy is from.
Well, only if he doesn't have access to international things.
Pirating websites that he looks at. Yeah, but so he'd have to go on... Now you're saying that he has to go and find our film.
Because it did...
Which is before you were saying... all right.
No.
Well, I'm receiving
what I'm saying,
call.
as if you had a sort of, like, all you would have to have is a thing that conceals your IP address, and then you can watch anything from anywhere, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he would have to look up the film, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, because it did play at a festival in Japan, I believe. Or maybe that was...
no, it played in Korea. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, look, on that note, we better wrap this up.
Okay.
Because it is time, but it has been a good show, and thank you very much for listening, and please tune in for the rest of our quarantine specials. I look forward to the day when we can do these in the same room again. That'll obviously be great, because it's a bit more, I enjoy the flow back and forth, the witty banter, and the manly embraces.
None of that is present here now. Yeah.
No, exactly. But so anyway, thanks very much for listening, and please go and find us on facebook.com/Guy and Harley. You can also find us on Patreon by searching for Pigville, by going patreon.com/Pigville Productions. Yeah, that's it. Search Pigville on Patreon anyway. And you can also find us on Spotify, iTunes, Libsyn, YouTube, and Twitch if you want to catch up with our extensive back catalogue while you have some spare time over the lockdown. So, yeah. Yeah,
and look, again, we encourage questions from our listeners, because obviously all otherwise we're going to be talking about is this fucking corona situation.
Yeah, we'll be talking about bullshit, and also do stay safe out there. Do keep your chin up, and stay smart, and hopefully we can all get through this together.
And we hope that this podcast has helped you pass some of that time. You're twiddling your thumbs.
Boring time. Shout out Sly Will. All right, thank you very much. Good night.